I want to play a little sound before I get you to weigh in. He was asked, did you talk to Weiss? Tell us about your discussions with Weiss. Hello, that's the question. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. What have the two of them discussed? They work for us. They work for us. Listen to this answer in SOT 17.
Okay. Can you tell us about any briefings or discussions that you personally have had with Mr. Weiss regarding any and all federal investigations of Hunter Biden?
I'm going to say again, I promised the Senate that I would not interfere with Mr. Weiss.
So you have not, I'm just under oath today, your testimony is you have not had any discussions with Mr. Weiss about this matter?
Under oath, my testimony today is that I promised the Senate I would not intrude in his investigation. I do not intend to discuss the internal Justice Department deliberations, whether or not I had them.
So it's a middle finger, Maddy Kearns. He won't tell us.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of how Biden's handled these accusations, and that he said he's not had any discussions with his son, Hunter. It's very difficult to believe, but I think what Merrick Garland has going for him here, at the risk of sounding credulous, is that he is very mild-mannered. He can appeal to this reputation he has as being a moderate, being a straight shooter. It's not actually all that dissimilar to Joe Biden. You know, during the 2020 campaign, it was old, nice Uncle Joe. He's a nice guy. Never mind that he lies through his teeth. And I think that's what's going on here as well. I mean, anyone who's had any dealings with a big grinding government bureaucracy will have run into the answer to a question, oh, that's not my department. I don't deal with that. I don't know about that. And the question that obviously comes to mind straight away is, don't you people talk to each other? Obviously, in that case, the explanation is incompetence. I don't think Merrick Garland is seriously trying to say that he is incompetent. But I think what he's doing here is he's suggesting that there's an element of professional distance that he's had between himself and David Weiss. It was the appropriate thing for him to do, he's saying, in this situation, to take a step back for all the reasons that we've brought up about the closeness and proximity of the Biden DOJ investigating the Biden family. And so he's saying, you know, I left it to David Weiss, I left it to this Trump appointee, and I really didn't have much to do with it. And as soon as you start to press down in that, he's, as you say, a middle finger, none of your business. I don't have to comment on that. It's contemptuous, frankly.
Mm-hmm. And here he is getting questioned by Representative Bishop on the fact that the statute of limitations is now passed, right? Like, I mean, truly, the statute of limitations is expired on the tax charges that would bring up Burisma. And I mean, it does seem very clear why that was allowed to happen. That's the best way of protecting the so-called big guy, which we know from the IRS whistleblowers. The team investigating Hunter Biden was told, don't go there. We're not doing anything that asks about Joe Biden, period. So here Merrick Garland got asked a bit about the statute of limitations expiring in SOT 19.
Are you aware that statutes of limitations have been allowed to expire while the matter was under investigation?
The investigators were fully familiar with all the relevant law.
I'm not asking for the excuses. I'm asking whether you're aware of that fact, sir.
I'm going to say again. I'm going to say again and again if necessary. I did not interfere with, did not investigate, did not make determinations.
Those are statements in response to other questions. Everybody in the country now knows, who's paying attention to this, that the Justice Department permitted statutes of limitations to expire. Every lawyer who's ever practiced understands the implications of allowing statutes of limitations to expire. Do you not even know as you sit here whether that occurred or not?
Prosecutors make appropriate determinations on their own. In this case, I left it to Mr. Weiss whether to bring charges or not. That would include whether to let statute of limitations expire or not.
It's the, what was it, Sergeant Schultz, Colonel Schultz? I can't remember his rank. I know nothing. Remember, F Troop? Right? Wasn't it? Was it F Troop, Jim Geraghty? You're my age.
Hogan's Heroes.
Maddie's like, what the hell are you talking about? Hogan's Heroes. Thank you.
In that last comment, Maddy made something very important, saying that it was contemptuous. Indeed, contempt of Congress does seem like an appropriate term to be throwing around here. And also, I think this, like the point earlier about the reputation that Merrick Garland has, that he's not seen as this diehard partisan bomb thrower. There are a lot of figures in Washington, particularly on the Democratic side of the aisle, who have a reputation as a moderate. And what they mean is that they are moderate in their tone, maybe moderate in their personality, moderate in the way that they speak and make their arguments and all that kind of stuff. They're pleasant people. You could invite them over for dinner and you would not have any thrown objects or knocked over drinks or anything like that. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are moderate in their policy or ideology or in their actions. And a lot of Democrats, benefit from that blurring of the distinction of what is moderate. And I think, Biden is a good example of this, but also I think Merrick Garland is one, is that, he seems very calm in his, those clips that you've played. But in one of them, he's saying like, look, I know I just took an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But I've just decided that my conversations with other people at DOJ, they just got to remain private and I'm not going to share them with you. In a way, it's sort of like an assertion of executive privilege, but there's never been an executive privilege applied to the Attorney General. Like he doesn't have his own ability to say, yes, sorry, legislative branch, you're not allowed to hear about that. That's just too secret for you.
Right. They're the oversight committee.
Yeah. Unless it was like classified information or something like that. And even that you can do at a closed hearing. And then his next statement was kind of this total non sequitur when the question is like, look, at minimum, like, did everybody know what the statute of limitation expiration date was? Were people aware of the fact that they were on a ticking clock? How did you miss something like this? And his attitude is like, look, I was not going to contact them about anything, including when they were no longer going to be able to bring charges. By the way, I think everybody knew darn well, the argument is that this was deliberate, that this was like, we found all this evidence. We could have made a case against Hunter Biden, but forgot to check the calendar. What are you going to do? We shouldn't have taken that long weekend,
They had him dead to rights. The IRS whistleblowers made that very clear. It was an extremely strong case. Here's Jim Jordan speaking to the expiration of the statute in SOT 21.
What I'm wondering is why you guys let the statute of limitations lapse for those tax years that dealt with Burisma income.
There's one more fact that's important, and that is that this investigation was being conducted by Mr. Weiss, an appointee of President Trump. You will, at the appropriate time, have the opportunity to ask Mr. Weiss that question, and he will no doubt address it in the public report that will be transmitted to the Congress. I don't know the answer.
I don't know the answer. So you're great saying that we're going to get a chance to hear from Mr. Weiss directly, Maddy, which is exactly what we need. But you know exactly what's going to happen when David Weiss gets in front of Congress. I'm not at liberty to discuss that. That's a private matter within the Justice Department. That would reveal attorney work product. He's not going to, there's zero chance David Weiss is going to illuminate anything willingly.
Yeah, I think these are questions that Garland just obviously hoped and fully expected before the plea deal fell apart in July, that he was never going to have to answer. That's the reason he doesn't have an answer to them, is because he's sitting here thinking, oh, this is, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be dealing with this. I thought I had this under wraps and here I am today. And it comes through. And I think like I was saying, with these grinding bureaucracies, you can get on the phone and the person says, oh, I'm sorry, that's not my department. Let me just dial you through to somebody else. And then great, they can go home and not worry about it. He's not in that position. The buck stops with him. He is the Attorney General. He has to answer for what was going on under his watch. And these answers are just completely devoid of any substance. And, you mentioned David Weiss. It will be very interesting to see him in the same situation, but ultimately it's going to become rather tedious and repetitious because we're not really getting anywhere, and nor did we expect to.
Here's just a little bit more Jim Jordan expanding on why he thinks they let the statute of limitations expire, SOT 21.
Everyone knows why they did it. May not say it, but everyone knows why they did it. They didn't, those tax years, that dealt with that involved the president. It's one thing to have a gun charge in Delaware. That doesn't involve the president of the United States. But Burisma, oh my, that goes right to the White House. We can't have that. And we can slow walk this thing along. We can even extend the statute of limitations, and then we can intentionally let it lapse. And we know this investigation was slow. Here's what everyone said. Shapley said, DOJ slow walked the investigation. Ziegler, slow walking in the approvals of everything. This happened at the Delaware's attorney's office and DOJ tax level. Mr. Sobocinski, the FBI agent, said, I would have liked to see things move faster. Ms. Holly said the same. Every witness we've talked to said this thing was slow walked, and we know why. They slow walked it long enough to let the statute of limitations run so they wouldn't have to get into Burisma.
I'm sorry, Jim, but this is part of the reason why people look at the prosecutions of Donald Trump and say, I don't give a damn. I don't care. I'm not listening to you. I don't trust this DOJ. They're clearly in the tank. It's a partisan outfit. It is election interference. And they really don't give a damn what documents Donald Trump had back at his house in Mar-a-Lago or what he did with them in dealing with these dishonest brokers. Junk science. That's what the doctor called many of those fruit and vegetable supplements on the market. Junk science because they use extracts of common produce department fruits and vegetables with very few health benefits. But I want to tell you about Field of Greens. Field of Greens is different. They use whole organic fruit and vegetable, not a watered down supplement. And it's backed by a better health promise, which I'm going to tell you about. Each ingredient in Field of Greens was scientifically chosen to support vital organs like heart, lungs, and kidney health. Others support your immune system, blood pressure, metabolism, and healthy weight loss. Their better health promise is simple. The next time you're at the doctor for a checkup, if the doctor does not say you're looking healthier than before, you get your money back. That's a deal for you right there. So let me get you started with 15% off. Visit fieldofgreens.com. Use my promo code MK, at fieldofgreens.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.